Hardcore racists, what moment made you change your ways? Watching The Fresh Prince made me hate them even more. I lived in a primarily white neighborhood where there weren't a lot of black people. I was going to school and spending my days just like I did when I was 13. But one day, a boy called Joey came to our class. Joey was black. In fact, I think he was the only black person in our entire school. He stuck out like a sore thumb. In hindsight, he was really just an ordinary boy just like me. But the 13-year-old me didn't understand that. In my eyes, Joey looked repulsive. I thought he was unnatural. I obviously didn't hate him, I just felt disgusted by him because he was black and it wasn't just me. A lot of my classmates gossiped about him too, seemingly sharing my opinion. Thinking we should play a prank on him, we started to harass him almost every day. For example, hiding his school bag or giving him funny names. We thought it was all games and fun, but in reality, this was just plain bullying and nothing else. But Joey wore it like a champ. He was never really riled up every time something like this happened. He just silently endured until everyone stopped doing it due to boredom. I stopped too, but my repulsion never vanished. I simply started to avoid Joey, trying to think that he was not there. This was about the time Fresh Prince of Bel-Air started airing, and probably a year later, we had a lot more black people around. A lot of controversies were reported because of this, but I never kept them in mind being so young. Honestly, I didn't like the show at first when it first aired. This is the same reason why I didn't like Joey. I felt repulsed by the black actors. But my mother really liked the show, and since we only had one TV, I had no other choice but to watch it with my mother. I too started to actually like the show as well. I got over my repulsion of the black actors, but not against black people in real life, as I was more engaged in the comedy. Then the show started to teach the viewers lessons in subtle ways. There was this one episode where Will talks with Carlton about their trip in the. Then Will starts to flip out about the police stopping the both of them. Carlton is oblivious as to why Will is so upset and starts saying that it all wouldn't have happened if they had a map. This makes Will even more upset as he realizes that Carlton doesn't understand what racial profiling or discrimination is. He never seemed to have experienced the same thing as Will because he came from a rich upbringing and a nice neighborhood. This scene ends with Will sarcastically telling Carlton that it was all because of the map and not because of their skin color. Carlton simply doesn't understand. The next scene is where Carlton's dad comes in and wishes his son good night. This is where Carlton asks his father about whether or not the police did the right thing. His father replies, "I asked myself the first time I was stopped," and then says goodnight before leaving Carlton by himself to contemplate. I don't know why this scene stuck with me so much, but I thought about it for a week. I also thought about all the things I had done to Joey and how he must have felt. I pondered these thoughts for a month until I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to talk to Joey on our lunch break. Our school had a lot more black people in it at that time, but Joey still was the only black person in our class. He was a loner and he never seemed to have attempted to talk to anyone. I found him sitting in the cafeteria by himself eating a radish sandwich. I knew that since I too ate those and they were my favorite. I didn't know how to approach him or how to talk to him, as I felt incredibly awkward doing what I was about to do. I also made sure nobody knew what I was doing, which is why I tried to talk to him on lunch break. Most of our classmates never went to the cafeteria to eat and brought their own lunch. Eventually, I got over my awkwardness and came over intending to talk to him by sitting next to him. Joey immediately noticed me when I sat near him but didn't say anything to me. I too didn't talk, and just like that an entire lunch break passed with us not talking and me just awkward as hell just sitting next to him saying nothing. I asked Joey when we were much older what he thought when I did that. He told me that he thought I was about to harass him and that what I was doing was actually the most nervous he was compared to everything else he had experienced. He had never had anyone sit next to him, silent as a rock. We laughed our tails off. Anyway, this actually continued for 4 days where I would sit down at lunch break next to Joey, without saying a word. But finally, after the third day, I sat next to him with my own lunch and immediately spoke before he could start eating. "I'm sorry." He replied, "What?" I repeated, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "I'm sorry for doing the things I did to you." "Ah, okay." He started eating. I, not eating at all, still waited as I expected to hear something else. But I never did, as he simply ate while I looked at him waiting for the words I expected to hear. He too noticed me staring at him expectantly and stopped eating before turning to me. "What? So you forgive me?" "No." And that's pretty much the end of the conversation. I was totally dumbfounded and had no idea what to say next. Joey too didn't seem to want to talk anymore and simply finished his lunch while I did. For the next week, I pretty much pondered about what to do next. Joey had refused my apology and I was clueless as to what to do. Because of that, I simply continued to have my lunch with Joey every day since I got used to it. We also started talking, not about the apology, but just talking about hobbies like comics and video games. My repulsion towards him also disappeared as I started to understand Joey as a person more. Before I knew it, we became pretty tight friends, going over to each other's houses and playing. My original friends also became more friendly with Joey once I started to invite and play with him more. This continued until our high school years and even until university, as both he and I attended the same one.
We are all created equal, and we need to treat everyone with respect. Everyone has something to contribute. The person you're bullying might one day be your boss or even help you in some ways.